So get your research done right. I'm sure everybody here is pretty learned to start where where did I start my research? So I'm going to give you like the two options from experiences where I started the research for the brands. So everybody knows these websites. I'm sure, has anybody heard of 1688.com? So guys from China probably heard. Yeah, so there you go. So a few people have heard of 1688. So 1688 is kind of like Alibaba, but it is for the Chinese people. So it is much cheaper. So if you ever want to source, I'd start on Alibaba. Taobao is another one that's a retail arm. But 1688 is definitely the place where I would go, check it out, use Google Translate. You'll kind of understand what they're trying to say, but use that to source, right? I found that as a good way to get your wholesale products. So you will find that if you were to look up on your phone right now, the price difference between Alibaba.com, the English version of the site, and 1688, you'll see a massive price difference. Probably about some products about 20 to 30%. So good nugget for you to look at. Anyway, went to Alibaba, did the basic thing, didn't know how sourcing in China worked, started randomly emailing about 100 suppliers. But the thing is, once you email one supplier, I don't know how these other 10 suppliers know about you. So all of a sudden, I'm getting emails, getting spammed every day by this guy. Hello, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so watch company. Okay, thank you, nice to meet you. And I'm seriously, like, very sincerely replying to each one of them. Oh, very nice to meet you, super excited to see you. Where can I get these watches? And apparently, our competitors, which is at that point in time I considered Movement to be a competitor, people were selling knockoffs of Movement on Taobao for like $5, and they were selling in as a direct to consumer brand for like $150, and I'm like, holy hell, this is something I got to be really careful about. So my alarm bells went ringing. I'm like, is it really safe to go ahead and do this, or like what's going to happen? So so by that point in time, when I had followed option one, here's my mistakes with that I am sharing with you and hope you can learn from it, right? I'd ordered like I'd used 4 or 5 different manufacturers, and I was ordering samples like no tomorrow. So the problem with samples is, for watches especially, is that every time you need to get a watch made, they'll make a new mold. And the cost of a mold per watch is about $300 US. And if I wanted 3 different models for each type of watch, because we had a chrono, we had a simplistic like minimalist watch, and we had a women's one, so that was about $900. So that's about $2,700 right there that you basically just pissed away, plus the cost, whatever the shipping costs, etc. I had to pay a part-time designer. That was added cost, and you're paying somebody for 3 months, and then you're going back to the drawing board again. So by that time you lost about 6 months. So that's another thing. We've talked about the 100 suppliers. Oh, and then of course I made the mistake of using gurus. So there's a platform of sourcing called Sourcify. I don't know if you've heard about it, but apparently this guy just introduced you to random people on WeChat, and you of course believe him. He's this dude who tells a story about going to China and living there since he was in grade 10 or something. But he's some guy from like Midwestern Texas that who's got this really good story spun because he's been the only once in his life. So do not trust gurus. Anybody who says they're a guru, please just delete their emails or whatever. Just if you think that they're worth somebody or they're worth some salt, just call the clients or ask for a testimonial. That's one way I'd look at it. So that's my first option. Completely failed at this. Failed really badly at this, by the way. Then I tried option number 2, which is go to an industry trade show and go to a factory visit, right? So option 1, I've already lost about, let's say, between $3,000 to $5,000 at this point in time, right? Then I tried option number 2, which was, I found out how much it costs to fly to Hong Kong is from Vancouver, $800. Found out how much is it to go to the Hong Kong watch fair. It was $0. Me and Guilherme, he's in the back. We work together. We went there. It was free. You go into the watch fair, people want to sell you stuff. They want more people to come, man. They're like, hey, come on in, buddy. Let's chit chat. Let's go out for drinks and stuff. So it's like, so that was $800. That's nothing compared to return flight. Then it's like, it's a good place to meet all the factory owners. All the owners, or at least the GMs of those factories, are there on the floor at this watch fair. You go there, you meet everyone, you meet and greet them, and then you find out, after like 2 or 3 days of meetings, which ones. So you got to be careful about a few things. Some people pose as factories. They are not factories. They're trading houses. You have to be careful of who these trading houses are, right? Some people are they're just middlemen, right? So these trading houses are just middlemen. They'll be like, oh, we have a factory, we'll go whatever. But what they essentially do is they'll take their watch, they'll private label it, they'll go to the factory. They're about 15 to 20% margin higher than what you will be paying a factory direct. So the first question you always ask is, do you own this factory? Is this factory yours? Where is this factory based? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That, I think, is the most important question to ask. The second most important question to ask is, okay, show me the wares, right? Of course, you're there for the watches. Then you need to ask them questions about the movement or whatever your product is, right? I mean, if you are selling zombie apocalypse generators, you probably wanna know what kind of diesel pumps and all these have. How much can you repair them? Are they just going to be used once, or do they come with a self-repairing kit or something, right? It's all these questions, because wherever people get a chance to, if your spec isn't 100% like laid out like a toolbox, like a Lego set, you're going to get charged extra. So you better have a proper blueprint of what you want to make, and you want to have it as specific as possible. My mistake is I am not a very specific person. So I have people like Guilherme to help me out. Credit terms. Credit terms are really, really, really important in China. So the usual credit terms you'll get for China is 30% upfront, 70% on completion. So this is a standard rate. I'm sure you can tell that to people. It's like it's 30-70. Is it? So, but yeah, but that's because you have a big businessman. So you're a rich man. But so I found a way, which was interesting, was 30-40-30, which was, so we did a 30% upfront, we did a 40% at stage 1 completion and 30% delivery, because I was running another business which is very cash flow intensive. So essentially the way I was able to negotiate those terms, which you could use at some point in time, is I got letters from all the creditors that I was doing business with. And all these letters, I'd asked them, and I had some folks in China I was dealing with, and I said, would you be able to guarantee, I didn't ask them to become a guarantor, but said, just tell them about how I pay you, how often I pay you, and have I ever missed a payment, which is, you're not asking them to bend the truth or anything else. So they actually wrote all that out on a letter, and that was given to the factory that I was dealing with, and I was able to negotiate these very favorable terms, which worked out for us in the long run. Okay, so remember I told you about the Lego blueprint? This is the Lego blueprint that I personally had, and what we wanted to work on as a watch company. So I cared about the values of the watch company. Who are these people? Will they make me meet their families? I mean, how do they treat their employees? I think it was very important for us to look at like how they treated the employees. Were they treated like, coming from India, you'd never tend to treat employees too well. You just treat them like garbage. But it was important for me to see that company, a company that treats the employees like gold, especially in those places. I think it tells a lot about the person that you're dealing with, right? What was the owner like when he dealt around with the people who are manufacturing the watches? And I saw some of that. It was phenomenal. This guy, the factory that we ended up choosing, like the guy he's one of the most well-respected guys with his employees. People were very vocal about the support for this guy. And I said, you know what? This is a guy I probably want to do business with. Credit terms, of course, they need to meet 30-40-30 credit terms. This guy took a chance on me, which I'm very, very, very grateful for. And he agreed to those credit terms that I said, right? And he was willing to take a chance on me. He believed in my vision. And a person like that is a person, of course, who we will do business not only with, today, we'll do business with him 10 years from now. He wasn't in it for the short run, right? And that's, by the way, in North America, we have this mentality of looking at things in the long run. In China, it's impossible to find that. If you're in China or India, you're out there to make a quick buck. You're done in a week and see you later. So this is extremely hard to find as a quality. I personally found it. I'm sure you'll find it now. It's changing. The mindset is changing, but it's still more cash intensive than anything else. No credit in China, man. It's impossible. Were they flexible in design and reproduction? A case in point is that example of the logo that I gave you, right? Like, where are you? How are we sourcing our leather? Like, would you be able to work with us on our leather requirements? Like, where if we were to source the leather from XYZ factory, would you be pissed off? No, they weren't. It was okay. It worked for them. They were very flexible, so no problems, right? And client references. Just mentioned client references. It was important. So they had 2 clients. One was a German watch manufacturer who did about 100,000 pieces of wooden watches, and there was another client who did watches for South America. I called them both. I asked them about their feedback about working with these guys, the credit terms, all that stuff. Guys checked out perfectly. And then I said, okay, let's go. And this was all, by the way, done in about a week. all the stuff. So 3 months versus 1 week. So just so you know the option 1 versus option 2. It was that quick. It was that easy to do it. I personally wish, now when I look back at all those things, I wish I had just gone and done it so much earlier. So these are the fallacies and my mistakes that hopefully whoever wants to start or do something with, maybe you can learn from it. Yeah, this is the final watch sample. We've just made it like a little fancy and Instagram-y, but this is what it actually looks like. I actually had the earlier watch sample as well, a picture of it, which is not in there, but it was like, they sent me a watch sample where basically the second hand was not working. The one of the watch hands was just like literally floating around in the case, and it was like, okay, well, this is definitely not the factory, and I'm about $300 down. Okay, for those in physical goods, this is really, really important. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention somebody. Like, this is the guy I use. He's okay. He's this American dude who I met through this organization called Dynamite Circle. I'll tell you about them later. He lives in Shenzhen. He's this guy who basically used to have an FBA store, and somehow he was looking for people. Like this dropshipping guy said, hey, I need you to set up a warehouse for me, and I'll sign this awesome deal with you. And the guy backed out at the end, and now Brian has this warehouse, and he's like, man, I've just built this warehouse and nobody to supply with. So the guy is passionate as hell about shipping. Right? This guy knows everything. He's this American dude who knows everything and anything about shipping. They say it sounds crazy, right? It's like, dude, it's like, hey man, what gets you up in the morning? He's like, man, you can't believe I shipped this package to Namibia and I saved my client $2. I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, really? He's like, yeah, that's my way of doing things. So this guy is like this nerdy guy about logistics and shipping. That's all it is. The way. Okay, so I'll tell you. I'll go through that list, and then I can. Do you want me to go through the list, or I can just tell you like practical examples of like how the Chinese versus how Brian Miller or the Americans I know in Shenzhen ship. So the Chinese guys, when they give you an Excel sheet, it looks very cheap. Everything on there looks very cheap, but they're hidden costs, right? So when that Excel sheet comes out, there's a lot of hidden costs. Like they'll charge you to literally just pick up your product and put it in a box. That's $1 that wasn't there before apparently. Right? Then they'll be like, okay, I put this then I put that box in a plastic, like in a shipping bag. That's another 50 cents. That wasn't there before. So there are all these like hidden costs that you have to be like really, really worried from. Guys like Brian, or the other guys that I know there, guys from a Western perspective, they know how the Western, how the Western world works, and they know how the Western world does business. So essentially, it is, you get the end-to-end rate. Everything is included, and he gave a good friends and family rate. So that's one thing that worked for me. Of course, check your clients. Call the client referrals. I called 2 of them. They worked out for us. The integrations were really important for me. So does it integrate into Shopify? Does it integrate into Magento? Does it integrate into PrestaShop? I don't know. What cards are you guys using? Shopify for me. Any WordPress? WooCommerce? Anybody on WooCommerce? Yeah, WooCommerce. Anybody using anything else? Magento? Magento too. Heyo. With headless CMS or not headless CMS? Okay, you're going to move there soon, I hope. Yeah. All right. So that was something that. So I recommend this guy. That's his website. Check it out. Tell him I sent you. You'll probably get a discount. So I get nothing out of it. Like I said, it's just like a shout out to a buddy. Can we get the next one? Okay. This is what I use for my launch strategy. And this is like something that